left. Select the cameraman to access recording.
This is weird. Everyone's going to see my group.
I think we're recording right now.
Oh, great.
It says we are.
I
think we're good. I think. Fingers crossed. Okay, let me pull up my program. Okay. So, we're group 5, and for our part in the Ratner article, our question was, how does a field ensure that clinical relevant evidence reaches its anyone?
Constituency.
There you go. And is endorsed by professionals. So, at first we just wanted to do like an overall summary of the article. So, our section of the article talked about 3 main reasons why it makes evidence gathering the process of EBP less optimal for practicing clinicians. So the first point was that there's too much evidence available, so it's really hard for SLPs with full caseloads to search out this and to weed through all this information and this research, let alone to access it and make sense of it and apply it clinically. So it's just way too time-consuming given the amount of research and trying to figure out what's applicable. The second point was that we shouldn't just consult like our professional colleagues, that our first source should be peer-reviewed literature, and that should be where we start with this. It said that many SLPs don't consult research first whenever they're faced with a clinical question. Rather, they go to their colleagues or websites, different like group online chats or SIGs with ASHA or old textbooks, which these are all really valid places to find clinical opinions and help with a case, but it shouldn't be your first point to find research to apply to a case. We should be really accessing our research. And the third point was the barriers to use of evidence. So there's so much research out there, and these articles are expensive. So if you're trying to weed out through these articles, it costs a lot to get the full text, and ASHA isn't the only site that we have available, and we're not really familiar with other sites. We often use ASHA as a resource, but there are other sites like the Stroke Association that we can use that might have additional research for us that isn't as costly or might not cost. Okay, Aja, you want to go?
Okay. So first reflection question was that since the article states that clinicians seem to prefer non-peer-reviewed local workshops to reading the primary research literature or understanding its value, should it be required as a part of CEUs that practicing clinicians work together within workshops to compare peer-reviewed evidence with face-to-face instruction for at least half of required CEUs? The peer-reviewed literature would have to be provided for the clinicians, or would have to be given to them in some way, so that they wouldn't have to be responsible for like finding it on their own or paying for it on their own. In this way, ASHA can ensure that the available peer-reviewed research is being talked about within CEU courses, rather than clinicians earning their CEUs at local workshops.
So a second reflection question that we had was, since the use of systematic reviews do provide a lot of easy evidence for clinician altogether in one location from numerous articles, should we devote more research funds towards the specific research of creating systematic reviews, or how should we get and encourage more clinicians to write and review more systematic reviews for other clinicians to use?
So the next point, I'm just going to go through 2 of the main takeaway points. The first one is the importance of practitioners accessing information. However, this is sometimes a difficult task. An example of this is, I know at least for me, I've had challenges accessing certain articles for different classes throughout college in general. It's either not in a database, or I had to wait a period of time before the university was able to get it, or there's always the option of spending money. And whenever you're out in the field, sometimes you don't have time to wait around for an article. You need to be doing the research, and it not being cost effective is also an issue. Second, the article discusses how we need to make it the culture in the field that peer-reviewed literature is the first place that question seekers look. The article talks about how many times practitioners will go to their peers or coworkers for advice rather than researching the latest articles or evidence. And I personally have also seen this in externship placements where professionals in the setting have consulted with each other before they went to literature. So in order to change the culture of the field, people with questions need to reverse their normal process and look to literature first, and then consult with coworkers and other professionals.
Another takeaway that we had was that it is critical to use our CEUs and keep them up to date with current peer-reviewed articles. And even though it may be much more convenient to attend local workshops, for example, when you have a busy schedule as a professional, it's very tempting just to do the convenient CEU activities just so you can earn those required credits. But we should make sure that at least half of our hours are spent in peer review workshops where we're actually working with other professionals and learning more hands-on some of the new evidence that's out there.
Okay, so some actions for our peers are, rather than attending non-peer-reviewed local workshops, make it a point to obtain the peer-reviewed articles and discuss them within groups. Also being sure to attend conferences so that you can talk with people who are doing and presenting research. And another action is to explore the ASHA website, but not to rely solely on websites as a resource. So it would be good to subscribe to ASHA newsletters like the ASHA Leader and read new journal articles in order to stay current on what's happening now and the recent research that's being done and what's available. And also just to recognize that we're no longer going to have resources from Duquesne to rely on, like ILLiad. So.
And the last action point that we had was that we should definitely familiarize ourselves with leaders in areas like Joe Duffy with motor speech disorders, but and we should recognize and keep up to date with all of their current research, and because they're trustworthy opinions and they're experts in the field. But we shouldn't just rely on one source or just rely on other people's or professional opinions like our colleagues. Don't just rely on our supervisors and what we're taught, but look to the research and integrate it into our practice as professional speech language pathologists. So that's it for Group 5, and that's it.